I was
Loki.
curious when you guys communicated, obviously in English. Also, I don't think I've ever asked Nick this. How, when you hear it in Macedonian, when
Mm.
That's a
to
good
me, it's
question.
very interesting how you
That's
can
what
judge
everybody
their
wants to know.
performance. And absolutely, it's very,
Yeah.
I know that you can catch it here and there, but it has to be very true about the intention of it, right? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
Yeah.
more
yeah.
so how it's said rather than what's said. And
Yeah,
I want you
exactly.
to elaborate a little bit on that.
I
I'm
want to
very
add to
curious
that.
about it.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
to add to that. The new reel that you posted, it's obviously all in Macedonian.
Yeah.
About the when
The
me
mother.
and Alexander are sitting at the table, the new reel that came out, in the caption it says, in something I'm paraphrasing, this scene means a lot, or this scene, a lot of love in the scene. You said something about that really, really says that you understand it, and of course you do. But I sometimes forget that you don't understand like fully. I mean, you do, but you're not Macedonian, right?
Yeah,
So like,
so I think like the answer to what
You
you're
would
trying
think
to
so.
ask, the answer to what it's basically in that caption. Look, how can I understand what's going on? And of course, it goes with, first of all, I understand the script very, very deeply because I wrote it, because I lived it, because it's so close to me. And these kind of conversations are literally things that happen between me and my mother.
mhm,
So it's super close to my heart. And
right.
in that sense, that's just a feeling. So when of course, look, like we just joked about it, and maybe I will not make 100, I cannot do 100 words in Macedonian at this point, definitely not. But there are definitely, when you know the script so well, then just from the intention and looking into someone's eyes, I have a sort of judgment to it, whether I believe it or not. And that scene with you and the Martin and the mother it's so small, it's so intimate, and I always went into it, okay, what's the intention from both characters? Like the mother really wants him to go with the education, the conventional route. Don't do this crazy gaming thing that is now, just focus on this.
Hmm.
And that scene carries just so much nuance, and I don't want to get too much into detail, but the love that I have for this scene is, of course, is because it's very personal, also because it's very intimate, and it's a fragile moment for Martin because his dream fades away at that point. He's sort of, without saying it, I think you say two words. You say yes, duh, and they are not better. They were not better. But
Yes.
in the end of the day, we see that you start eating again, which is something in the movie that is sort of a metaphor for showing whether you are going with what your mom wants or not. Because in the previous scene, or in another scene, we see that there is something about food, and Martin is not interested in it. But eventually, you dig into that. You eat your mom's food, and you're like, okay, let's go with the conventional route. This is a whole tangent about basically where it comes down to is the intimacy, the closeness between the characters, the nuance in performance. Less is more. That's what I love about cinema, and that's all that is there in that film. A lot of OMG is very, very loud, is very, very dramatic. In the movie, I did cut a lot of the stuff where I was like, because for instance, in the
I
final
saw
scene
that.
in the film, when you were slamming the keyboard, later on, I was like, okay, this is just writing drama for the sake of drama to try and be, in fact, impactful to the audience, because it's not needed. It's not necessary. And so
Right.
I trimmed down a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, I
Still,
saw that.
there is a lot
At
in
first
there,
it
but
said, yeah, right, because at first it said 2 hours and 5 minutes.
yeah,
Now it just says like, I don't know, an hour and 40 or something.
yeah, an hour and 50.
Yeah,
Yeah,
50, yeah.
48. I think. Yeah, no, it's definitely it's all that stuff that's been cut, and the focus shifting to Martin's mind. So what's interesting when people hear this, they think about, okay, so you're super focused, you're constantly following your instincts, and you're doing the same thing on set. It seems like on set you're constantly like this. All right, I'm focused. But that's not always true, because you have a very weird, great, funny, quirky side to yourself
Yeah,
that
I
would
do.
come up. And I have a lot of behind the scenes stuff for the bunker. You would, ride on this. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I can also imagine, like, this it wasn't an easy shoot. It was hard, right? We're going in there with very limited means, and we still really want to do this film. We're shooting nighttime every fucking single day. You go crazy in this dusty bunker. Can you tell a little bit about that experience, Martin?
Can you remind me what was I doing? Because
You were
I
riding on Samantha, which was a sort of a heater thing that you would
okay.
carry around with a lot
Yeah, because it was cold. I brought my
all that.
heater and I made you guys sign it. That's what I remember.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah.
yeah, that stuff. And I remember you would also, I have the stuff with you in the camera. You would like go around and I don't know, you're like, that's a whole different mind space. It would almost feel like a coping mechanism or
Yeah.
something to balance it out.
Of
I mean,
course. I mean, the focusing part about, what was happening out of it, I mean, the external factor that was right there, right? It was, yes, I blocked it out to focus and to do what I'm supposed to do, right? Off and on camera. But I learned throughout, some of the things we did back in like Vesna's acting school was that in process, it's really important, yes, to focus and to do it all. But I like what you said about the coping mechanism. In a way, yes, in a way, it is a coping mechanism. But for myself, it's okay until I'm affected by the external factors. I block them out, but at some point, I was young and I wasn't strong enough. I'm still not to like block everything that's happening around me, because at the end of the day we're all there, right? And that's what I did. I mean, I let it just made myself, when I would feel that it would affect the environment around me, off camera would affect me, or some frequencies or energy that would sort of mess with my head. I would often do what you were describing, and that would be like go crazy or quirky, in that this completely other mindset. Of course, too much
mhm,
to forget all about what I was doing. Of course, that wasn't even possible, because by then I understood it so much that I switched easily. It definitely was a coping mechanism in a way, but it was also to transfer energy that's also fun, and it's not always
yeah,
so tense,
yeah,
even if it
Yeah.
was. And for you, I think it was really important to see the lead being like okay and doing fine before we actually start shooting, or
mm,
in
mm,
between takes.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
if something happens to me and my scene, we're doing a scene where I should have some circumstances that are maybe hard to get into. I think it was also important to you to know that I was doing fine, and that
mm,
I'm okay, and that I'm positive to do all of this, right? So it was to focus, but it was also to block out every external factor that was happening around me.
mm,
Because when it was getting to me, that's where I drew the line, and I'm like, okay, let's make a party for myself. And
yeah,
that's what I did, and you know that's what I did. And from some other perspective of somebody that may not know me that well, I would say that this person is bipolar or something, because one minute you see this person like full rage out, and
yeah,
then 50 minutes after, when he drank some water and ate something, he's like the funniest person ever to be around. And it was also, you had to find a balance between those two, because uh it's really important to be focused, but at one point you just let it go, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So when you go back to it, you immediately grab on it and start with the job. So yes, there were, and some of that stuff I would how do you say that word? I would ask to not be public, because
yeah.
I
Okay,
remember,
okay.
oh
I
my
will
God.
send you the everything before it's
Oh
yeah.
my God. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
please do, because some of that stuff is so something, you wouldn't say I'm doing a movie. You would say that I'm either crazy or doing a YouTube video. I'm a
Yeah.
YouTuber now. I
Yeah,
went in this empty stage and I'm talking to all these empty seats. Everybody is like tensive, right? Behind the curtain, because costume, makeup, do this, do that, set the camera. And I'm on the stage with the camera.
yeah,
I'm just talking to my audience that's not
yeah,
even there.
yeah,
I'm on stage and I'm like, I would like to be here someday. Da 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 da. Okay, let's go back to these guys. Let's see what they're doing. I'm supposed to be in makeup now. Okay, let's talk to Ari. And then Ari, on the other hand, she was positive like 24/7.
Yeah.
With Ari, you sit
Without
down
Ari, there was no.
and she starts talking. Everything's, sometimes she helped me get into that like
Yeah.
free of tension
Yeah.
mindset. So yeah, it was definitely a balance, and I think you know it it was a way to do it because, as you say, down at the bunkers and the night shoots, that was needed. Firstly, most of all for myself, and then for like the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was definitely a balance that was there, and it should have been there, and it's there.
And I remember you on your phone playing a Call of Duty or first
Mhm.
person shooter on your phone next to the stairs, tucked in. So I would like come in, about to go in. I see,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I was playing Call of Duty Mobile. It's funny because Nick said um, at some point when we were talking, or you sent a voice memo or something, and you said,
Sure.
you did this, you did that, and obviously you're not a gamer. And I'm like, what? I am a gamer. I played Call of Duty Mobile for like the whole movie. I played Call of Duty Mobile from like 2019, I think, till like until I started this college because I didn't have any time. And honestly, that game helped me to understand some of the references that we used or were in the script, right? Because it's a mobile game, but the language and it's all the same, but you're just
Mhm.
playing with your hands and a tiny phone. I guarantee you, I'm not lying. In that game, I always preferred to do a sniper, to always shoot with a sniper, not because I'm a sniper in the film, but because you're still, you're steady, you wait, and that was me. That was like waiting, and then you shoot the
Mhm.
enemy, or what are you
Mhm.
doing? It's obviously not like that in how the competitive world of gaming works because you're always constantly
Mhm.
moving. But I loved playing that game, and during and on set I was like, yes, this would really be fun and help me throughout the whole focus mode, because it's a different kind of focus when you're playing a game and when you're
Mhm.
doing something
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
connected to the story or to the actor's thing he has to achieve in the scene. And I was playing with 5 fingers, and then I transferred to my iPad. I never stopped. I'm telling you guys, I never stopped. Transferred to my iPad, and I can proudly say that I have spent probably around $300 on that game, buying weapons, buying skins.
Fuck.
It's like the most amazing, like, it's so amazing that you spent like $300 on mythical weapons and mythical characters.
mythical.
And you have I know this doesn't exist in the game, but like for me, it was so cool.
Yeah.
And there are flames, or kill effects. There's this. It's like a kid. It's like talking, like giving a kid a toy, right? And I can proudly say that some of that $300 was from your guys' pay
Oh,
from the
good.
movie.
Great. Yeah.
You
So
put it
that's
to
a
good
good
use.
cycle. So that's a good cycle, right?
So,
So
Petar,
yeah,
what did you do with your first paycheck? I bought mythical weapons
I bought.
and
Yeah,
skins.
what did you do with your paycheck? I bought $300 worth of mythical weapons and skins on this Call of Duty game that's on mobile.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a funny thing to say, actually.
Yeah.
Man, that's pretty cool. Also, when you cut your finger on the metal,
When? I don't remember that.
that's good that you don't remember it. Because when you threw the computer, when you guys were shooting the scene with the
I caught
mom,
Alexandra, right?
no, and you cut your own finger. And
Mine?
I called Sasha. I was like, Sasha, like I need to take him
Oh
to
my
the
God, we
hospital.
did that.
Yeah,
Shit.
I was like, I gotta take him to the hospital. He cut his finger on the metal. And previously I was at the hospital twice in a row because like I got bit by the dog and then
Oh,
Balunya
yeah.
stepped on a
On the
rusty
nail.
nail. I'm going to take people to get tetanus shots, And I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna get like 3 days in a row now.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
and I called Sasha. I was like, hey Sasha, I just wanted to let you know, like I cut his finger on a metal. I just want to make sure he has his like no shot, or I should go get him. He'll be fine. Let him finish the scene first.
Yeah,
I was like,
that
man,
was what I was
like,
about to say.
yeah, I
That's why I
I
don't remember it.
respect, yeah, I respect that so much, because sometimes you deal with parents and just like, oh my God, I'll be right there, and I was very
You guys are
cautious,
so
but it's
responsible.
also I was also confident because I was like 3 days in the hospital there with the tetanus shot. I was like, it's tetanus is really good. It's fresh. We probably used that all the previous like 2-3 days. So I was like, Petar, like, let's go. And I called Sasha. I was like, hey, Sasha, we were there like in Sistina yesterday, the day before. Like, I'm going to take him after the shoot. I was like, nah, he'll be fine. Don't worry about it, And I was like, man, tetanus. And I went to the hospital. I was like, hey, can you guys give me some tetanus? I can administer these shots on set or, because like I'm coming here every day. Every day somebody
No,
needs a
man.
tetanus shots, you know what I mean?
It's so funny, bro. That was also what happened to the movie that I shot before One More Game. Like, you guys know, we talked about how I broke my leg, so doctors were around
Yeah.
because of that. So now
Yeah.
it's really funny to me. Petar always needs a doctor for something, but I don't recall. I don't remember that, but it's maybe good that I don't. It was interesting.
It was a very like a surreal, experience when we were with Taylor also in the hospital. He was like, oh, I don't know if I want a shot or not. And the doctor's like, man, I don't have time for compliance. Just grab him, to, like, pull his pants down or like whatnot. It was like the funniest thing ever. And then we went outside in the hallway and I saw a friend of mine there on his phone playing a video game. I was like, deja vu. It's like, so I see him. I was like, hey, bro, like a long time no see. I haven't seen you in like 20 years. What are you doing? He was like, oh, my wife is in labor. So I'm like outside here, like playing a video game. I was like, okay, good luck. It's like every single day, something. So like in my mind, I come home and I was like, I hope everything just is okay, because the last thing you want is somebody from the crew to get hurt. But there was something happening every single day.
Very good, Koki, that you kept eye on that kind of stuff. Like for me, like I wouldn't feel pain, right? I wouldn't feel anything. I would be numb to any external factor in life, and then nobody could. It doesn't matter if you hit me with the baseball bat, I wouldn't feel it. I don't know. I was going on a different mode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just appreciate that someone actually is, stays distant in that sense and understands and cares.
I remember in the basement, the potato mode,
Yeah.
it's, it's like a wartime. Everybody comes in. We had to shoot like 10 pages because we didn't make our day the previous day. And it was potato mode. Like when I saw Smoothie, I was like, holy shit, we are about to shoot like 10 pages in one day. And that's sort of, it's like a wartime,
Yeah.
It's really cool to see that we made it at the end, but
yeah. I
Petar's
have a question
credit.
for Nick. I just, I just made this up in my head. So you said that you wouldn't feel anything. I'm more interested in about not the very beginning of the process of the movie because I know it was long and you wrote the script and you obviously shot it, but I want to know, on those set days, what were you? Obviously, you were the director, and your word is last, right? Whatever you say that's going or not, it's the director's word that comes last in everything when it comes to the movie. So what I want to know is what were the things that you were maybe less confident in, but turned out to be the total opposite? And what was your kind of mindset going every day? And even though, of course, you had people with you and Koki and Taylor and Stein, both of them, that were like your people and you knew them, right? And they were your people. What were the things that made you, focus as well? But what was your mindset of it all? And throughout the filming and maybe before or maybe even after, did it ever shift? And what was your type of focus throughout the whole filming?
Yeah, so first thing, actually, what I said wrong about I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything for external factors.
Right.
Which means if my mom would be calling, my wife would be calling, I don't care. My feelings would be there when I'm in front of the monitor and when I'm with you guys, right? So that's where I would really, and it's super hard after a lot of days, but really try and put everything into that moment and feel as much as I can so I can make a proper decision. So that's important. So if it comes to the focus, Koki said it, military in my mind. There was a documentary that I was actually in the back burner also editing while we were shooting. It was ridiculous, but I had to make money. But it was improvise, overcome, and adapt. That's what you learn at basic training in the U.S. Marine Corps. So that's basically you're faced with. You have this focus, you're faced with problems, you improvise on it, and you overcome the situation, you adapt, and you move on. And every single morning to the boys, because my situation was on set and off set together with the Steins in our stinky room. And we would wake up and I'm like, I know as a director, you're setting the tone. If I'm joking around, if I'm not focused, it goes in a way then, it sounds stupid, but like from the top down. So I had to bring that energy, that focus, that really, guys, every single day, because I was an assistant director the year prior to that, and that was the greatest experience with a great director. And I noticed how important every single scene is to your film, and every single time you just really, there is no moment really to just relax is the wrong word, but just let it all unfold and be distant from it. Everything constantly matters. So I just had to be on all the time, and that focus, like that military focus, going through the day, trying to be the first one, being on set and doing all that stuff. So it was super hyper focused. And
Right.
And what I do want to say with that as well, it's eventually not sustainable. Like if I would do another film, there's a lot of things. Of course, we all learn from these experiences, and one of the big things for me is that I need a director's chair, and not for aesthetic reasons. I need it to calm down more and sit. And because when you're standing all these days, I'm not talking just about the first, second day, all these days, at some point, I got pain in my lower back, all that stuff. That started to play into my mind that I had pain. It drifts away from me being actually able to do what I'm supposed to be doing. And just that focused mindset where we keep talking about, and with this film and what Martin is pretty much me. It's at the same time destructive. It's also a downside. It's one of those things that you have to find balance into. If I would direct another film, I hope I will have a little bit. I'm a very serious guy. I can say, when I'm directing and on set and stuff, I don't joke around much, but I should more, and I should find that balance a little better, because I can also imagine, like maybe not for this movie, and it all works out well, but also for cast, it's great to work with a human. Right?
Yes.
To don't work with a machine. So that's, I don't know if that answers any of your questions, actually.
Yeah,
but,
you did.
Okay.
You absolutely did, and it's spot on. Right.
Can you recall one of the hardest moments, Petar, for you on set? Really, that shitty. Well, where it was the almost lost moment. I don't know if you actually had any, but yeah, it was a long.
Well, even if I did, you wouldn't have noticed. But one of the hardest moments. Are you talking in terms of like the acting or general?
Actually, I mean, I'm curious about both. Obviously, about something that relates to the movie and a scene, for instance, that would be great because I can show things. But of course, the person and personally, it just depends on what you want to share.
Well, okay, I'm gonna tell you the hardest things so you can put in a reel, and then I'm gonna tell you something that you can't put in a reel.
Good.
Okay. So I wouldn't say it was the hardest, but it was something definitely that I sort of didn't know the outcome to, or was worried about, and that would be the church scene, right? The breakdown scene. I remember when I first read the script, that was the since day one, that was sort of like a worry for me because I didn't know how I would do it. I certainly knew why it was happening, but I was sort of worried in a way how it would turn out because I didn't know how the camera's what's the shot gonna be. And I remember that day that we shot it. I don't remember the whole day, but I remember the moment we were shooting it. Of course, the first take was, I think, probably where I could, get it all out because I was, building it up till the moment I was supposed to do it, and part of it was, it's wrong to do, of course, but it's It was something that was happening privately, something I had, private kind of stuff that was going on that only I knew about. And also I used that nervousness and that, pressure about the scene. I used that and I built it up inside. When it was time to shoot it, I remember when we did the first take, I went all out. And I think I did okay, let's say. I never was confident truly throughout any of the scenes I did until I talked to you. And when you would say something about the scene we did, we were never specific. That was good, great. You never did that because then I wouldn't know why. What you did was you directly said why it worked. Not why it was right, but why it worked. And that was for me some type of like calmer, let's say. And then we did the second take. You go all out and then you hear, okay, one more time. That's where I got really worried because I didn't know what is about to happen. I went all out in the first take. Wasn't confident in it. And then you said, let's do it again. And Ari did my makeup again. You prepared to go again. And then we did. And what I did, I have no idea, right? Because I don't recall any of those days right now. First of all, because it was some time ago. And second, because I don't know. I probably don't have a good memory, but that's a lie. I do. Never mind. And then we did it again. And I remember a lot of it went into screaming. I screamed a lot because that scream for me right there meant I don't know what am I doing? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what am I supposed to do? Like, and that's sort of course, there's direction and there's, talk about it and what you're doing is the main thing. I knew what was I doing, but that wasn't in here. That wasn't anything that would like get it out. And sometimes that happens when there's a burnout that you're trying to like, put aside, but that doesn't work that way when there's a burnout. And a lot of it went into screaming at that second take. And I remember I was really burnt out because there was, some shooting days have passed and there was a really strong scream that didn't even come from the diaphragm. It came all the way from, it came from here and it hurt. And right there after that scream, I was hoping that we would like just redo the scene, but you said cut. And you said, so I don't know how many takes we did, but I remember after that scream, you just said, we're moving on. It was like it was something to do with relief because I really broke down after that.
Yeah.
I really like the pressure went like away and you've been working so hard till that day and you've got days coming up and you sort of just when you scream that it's also so physical. So even if you didn't want to, the body just by itself makes you feel all those things and you sort of break down. And I remember I was sitting on those stairs with my head down and I was like this and I was crying and there was like it was so bad. And I remember I was just hoping none of you would come up and see, are you okay?
Sure, yeah.
And
That's
that was really good because I noticed that all of the crew did that. That's what I needed the most after that was nobody to come up to me and say something in the terms of to like better things out or are you
I think
okay?
it was especially Ari that yeah, I do remember that moment. For me, it was also super overwhelming. And I remember that moment that you needed space and that Ari said in, just the way she is so lovely. It's like, I think Petar wants to be, wants to be left alone. Or she said it even better, is so subtle. And I remember you guys went to the car after that, and that was it. And that was also fine because I also learned through working with you that you're not this kind of guy that when you do big stuff that wants to be like, are you okay? Is everything okay? I remember there was one moment when you responded in a way to me that you were like, dude, shut the fuck. Actually, almost like that. You would just like, dude, shut up. I don't need this. I don't want this. It's okay. I'm fine. But yeah, I do know that. And I also know why did I say that's it after the second take, because I knew the first one is the best. And that's why I had Taylor from the very first take say, we're doing this. The first one is going to be the one and you're going to be on close up. I mean, that's what of course, why you're doing a second one, because you're always trying to see, is there something more? The focus was also a little bit off on the first one, stuff like that. You just never know. But yeah, I do remember, and that day was not only hard, it was intense for you, it was for Vedran, it was the same thing. I talked with him about that as well. That whole day had it's tense. And it is super important because when we watch this obsessive kid following his instincts during the whole film, you're like, all right, man, yes, you really want it, but we need him to break down, because otherwise it falls flat, and that's why it is super big and it is super good. I mean, you did a fantastic job on that one, and it's also one of those things in the cinemas when we're going to actually feel for the first time a response that has the value that no other stream, even if this would come on HBO and Netflix, this is in the cinema when people will feel it better than in any other place. And I'm just very excited for people to see this.
That's
that was
what I'm expecting
probably
to see
the hardest thing ever. I mean, ever.
Yeah.
It was something that I was pretty much worried about, because I also know, sorry Koki for interrupting, I
No
also
worries.
know those things often happen in the first take, especially when you're not a trained actor. Trained in terms of like college and a program. Of course I was trained, but there's certain stuff that you should only
You were 16.
get.
I mean,
Of course. What am I even talking about? I was 16, and that was probably the sometimes the crisis and the burnouts why it happened, right? The ambition and the mindset is there, even though I'm 16 years old. But at the end of the day, I was still 16 years old. So rather, even if I wanted to, get that out of the way, it just wasn't possible. So yes, after that scene, I went in the car and I sat down, and I just remember Jackie was just putting costumes or something away, and she just opened the door, and I sort of never felt like she was gonna be like, "Are you okay?" or to like check up on me. She just handed me some chocolate bar or something, and she was like, "Here." And I was like, "Yes, thank you, bye." And that's what she did. And then we didn't even say anything to each other, and that was what I needed. And so that was not probably, but that was definitely the sort of hardest I did, and mentally and physically, and even off and on, like the cameras. That was definitely the hardest one.